And we're live. We're here reacting to NFL Week 7. What a crazy week that was. I mean, we had so many incredible matchups this week. We had a Super Bowl rematch. We had the Lions and Vikings going at it for the top of the division. We had Monday Night Football with the Ravens, Bucks, with the Ravens just dominating that game. We had the Texans playing the Packers. We just had so many good matchups this week. This is a fun week of football.
Who's starting first? Who's starting first? Who want to talk about it first?
I mean,
Let
I
Preston talk
think
about it first.
I think we got to jump into the Lions Vikings game first because, I mean, what a game that was.
You know, what? Look, I'm okay to say I'm wrong because I said week one. I don't believe in the Vikings, and it's just every week since they just been showing me wrong. And the fact that the game was this competitive with the Lions, who people are, they're basically, NFC playoff team shoehorn at this point. But I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this like I just don't understand. I don't understand Sam Darnold with his resurgence and Jared Goff. I mean, I did not think he would have a Drew Brees efficient season. Basically, I mean, what he was 19 and 19 his last game, and now he only missed one pass or two passes
He
this
was
game.
22 for 25 this game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he also
that's
started the game off. I think he was 15 for 15, and his first incompletion was a ball that was tipped at the line.
yeah. See, that's nuts. And
I
this
mean,
type of
Darnold was only 22 for 27, so it wasn't like he was far off either.
that seems to be a theme this year though, because I think I saw a stat where it was like most efficient like passing seasons, and they have like four guys this year alone in like the top five. And it just makes sense because of the way defenses are now. Everyone's just throwing these little short passes, little intermediate passes, and I'm kind of sitting here like, damn, I kind of wish Drew Brees was playing these defenses because I feel like he'd really be eating up right now. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, Calvin mentions the Saints drinking game. There you go. There's your first one.
Yeah, we weren't even supposed to talk about the Saints today. They played on Thursday night. They suck. So this was finally y'all's first stream not having to hear about them, and Calvin brings them up 2 minutes in.
We should do that when we're streaming at night or whatever. And if Calvin talks about the Saints, you got to take a shot. We need to start doing that for real.
You're not going to make it through the night.
You will not.
You're just not. You're
You'd be shocked, brother.
You trust me, you would be shocked. You're not gonna make it. It's all right.
Y'all might have me locked in for a full episode, low key.
Oh wow, that's all it took. Some alcohol. He gets to stay.
Yeah, that's some classic Preston. But I mean, that was first of all just a really great game on both sides. I mean, I think both teams really showed. I mean, they're definitely contenders. They're definitely going to be battling for the top of that division, and there's going to be no margin for error because now Lions have the tiebreaker right now, but they still play another matchup, which could very well be the deciding matchup for who wins that division. But with all these tough divisional games that you're going to play, you have to now keep pace if you want to be able to win this with, I mean, both these teams just looking like they're very solid. I'm just so impressed with this Lions offense, though, and just how much it's evolved. I mean, first of all, it's a testament to you build around your quarterback, and good things are going to happen. I mean, before they paid Goff, they went and got a great O-line around him. And then they got some cheap rookie weapons around him and Amon-Ra and Jameer Gibbs. And they really just set up this team around him to be successful. And then, even when they paid him, his extension doesn't kick in until 2026 against the cap, the same time that Amon-Ra's does. So they have their clearly defined window, and they know, hey, we've got a cheap team right now with a lot of great pieces around it. We can go in and we can make a push because we built this good core, and we're able to find a quarterback. But just the way that he's developed since he was at the Rams is it's just impressive. I mean, when he was at the Rams, all you had to do was get some pressure on him, and he would panic, kind of like Derek Carr. But now, whenever he's under pressure, he knows exactly where his outlets are. He gets through his progressions well, and he'll see, all right, first read's not open, second read's not open. Let me go here quickly. He knows where his checkdowns are, and he knows how to position himself in the pocket. When there's pressure, he knows where to step up to so he can immediately get it to his outlet, and it's just a really impressive development for him as a quarterback, and it's been fun to watch.
Have we ever seen a trade that's like as even as that? You know, because like I really look at it like
I wouldn't
what
say it
would
was.
Jared? I mean, it's pretty even. You trade for Matt Stafford when you're the Rams, you win a Super Bowl off it, and everyone's laughing at the lines like, haha, you got Jared Goff, but then Jared Goff develops into probably a top 7 quarterback in the league right now. Um, and he's playing really well. He's playing really efficient. He's giving you some Sam Bradford vibes. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Sam Bradford with that what 64% completion or 65% completion percentage that one year.
For the
Nutty until Drew
Vikings.
Brees broke it. Until Drew Brees broke it. Shout out. Take y'all a drink. And Preston's gonna get it. So he might pull out some alcohol right now and just start going crazy. Um,
Not if I want to go to class later.
yeah, but I mean, the Lions got turned around with Jared Goff, and it's just like this seems like a win-win. I mean, obviously the Lions didn't win a chip yet, but I don't see how you're upset. You know, trading away Matt Stafford, and it even makes me wonder, like, if you kept Matt Stafford, like, would this have been a thing? Like, would you have
I
ended
don't
up
think so. I think because I mean you
bumming
got to
around?
realize the reason that Detroit is so good with golf. I mean, golf definitely has improved, but the Rams gave them a shit ton of picks. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at the Rams now; they're ass. You know, like still have Stafford, but like they haven't been able to develop any more rookies. They basically, I mean, they said fuck them picks, and I mean they got their Super Bowl, but like now they're 2-4 and really no future ahead of them. You know.
I mean, it's worth it, I guess. I mean, they had their first round pick last year, picked Jerry Verse, who's been a dog all year. Um, I mean, if that was the price to pay for Super Bowl, I'll be okay with it if I'm a Rams fan. I know there's about 15 of them, so they don't really appreciate it for real. But I mean, I that's a fine price for me. Um, but really, I'm kind of looking at the QB coach for the Lions. I didn't really look up who it was before, but he's got me on notice. And of course, Ben Johnson. I mean, it's just an excellent game plan, really. I mean, Goff is comfortable. Um, he's not really asked to go and win you the game, but the thing that I like about him now is that he can go and win you the game. And the way I look at it, he's like he is what Mickey Loomis and Dennis I think Derek Carr is, if that makes sense. Like they're a team that clearly wants to run the ball and they do it well. And then when they need to, they can hit the intermediate routes. And then they have a deep shot guy in Jameson Williams who you can say, oh, that's Rasheed Shaheed. God, I keep talking about the Saints. But I mean, it just proves the point. Um,
Well,
Ben Johnson will be the next head coach of the Saints. It proves it. Why
Do
not?
y'all know who the Lions quarterback coach is?
I don't, but I need to know. I need to know because I
Mark
might need that
Brunell.
guy.
He played for the Saints.
Mark Brunell. That is a throwback name right
Wow.
there.
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy. That's a throwback right there.
That is, but
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm surprised he's not on the staff already. The Saints only like people. They only hire people that's connected to the Saints in some way, shape, or form. So
He's been the Lions QB coach since 2021.
yeah, we need to look at him. We need to look at him for the amazing job he's done with Jared Goff and developing him, and shout
he
out to
re-
Ben Johnson
he
for
really has. And before I get back to this game, I want to get back to what Preston said about could this have happened with Stafford. I really don't think it could, and it's not a knock against him. It's just the Lions did a really great job of seeing, all right, we have this quarterback, but we're not going to win with him. Like, he wants to go win somewhere. They were able to find a good deal that worked out for both sides. I mean, you don't see that very often where the trade's that even for both sides, but once they made that deal, they're like, all right, we're going to go hit this mini reset right here. We know that we need to rebuild, and we got Jared Goff here. We'll try and make him work, but we're going to build the team around him. because he's a cheap quarterback right now. And he's someone who, like, at that point, they probably thought of as easily replaceable or whatever. They're going to give him a shot, but they weren't expecting too much. So instead of making him be the hero, they said, all right, we're going to go draft a really good offensive line, and we're going to go get a really good run game. And then we'll go get him some receiving weapons for cheap in the draft. And all of a sudden, when all that comes together and all that pans out, Jared Goff is able to be a good quarterback. He's able to be a great quarterback even. And a lot of that's a testament to him and his development, but it's just the team building that they were able to do, and they're able to build that roster around him. That's the point that we've kept hammering home is that's what you have to do. The Lions are an example of doing things right. And the team they play, the Vikings, are another example of that, where they got a quarterback that people thought was a complete bust, and he's able to look good. It's obviously a testament to the quarterback and the coaching that he's gotten to be able to develop him into this player, but also putting him in such a good situation where he's able to succeed. That is what you got to do with your quarterbacks, and you can't force them to just be a hero and save your team like the Patriots are doing with Preston's guy, Drake May.
I mean, we knew he wasn't going to save the team. I mean, he's playing well. He's playing good. I mean, we knew we weren't going to win a championship this year. We knew we weren't competing. But the best thing we could ask for is just to see that he's developing. And, I mean, he's looked good just to start off. I mean, he didn't throw an interception this past week. I know we played the Jags, but still, I mean, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. You know, I mean, he had 18. He led the team in rushing again. I mean, then again, I mean, he only had 18 yards. So I don't know if that's a testament more to him or to how much the team sucks. But he's not going to win a game for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, just by himself. But we're going to suck this year. Give it a year or two. By his 3rd year, we're competing. I'll put money on that. If we do things right. But if we get an O-line, build up our defense, sign a receiver in free agency, we'll be fine. I mean, look.
Yeah, if we get a whole new team, we'll be fine.
I mean, yeah, but like we don't really need a receiver help as much as I thought we needed, to be fair with you. Because, I mean, Demario Douglas looks good. I know he got sick or whatever. I don't know what that was, to be honest with you. I think it was just jet lag from having to go to London. But, I mean, Douglas looks good. The thing that I'm most pissed off about is that Polk looks like absolute shit. He cannot catch the ball to save his hand.
Man, I don't know if the NFL balls are too big for him. Shout out to Jamar Chase when everyone was saying that and he was going to be a bust. But now he just can't catch the ball. And, I mean, it's just been a rough rookie season for him. The one saving grace he has is at least he's in a team that has so middle receiver depth that he keeps getting opportunities. So maybe he'll be able to turn things around. But, I mean, it's just rough. But I was kind of halfway joking when I said, like, Drake May. Like, obviously that's a different situation where it's a full rebuild. But it is going to be interesting to see in a few years, like you said, is this going to be a team that looks good? Or is this going to be a team that didn't build around their quarterback like they should? But going back to this Lions game, I think what impressed me the most is just how well they were prepared and how successful they were against the blitz. Everyone knows that the Brian Flores defense is going to bring tons of pressure at you, and it's going to be different types of pressure. So you got to always be thinking, always be like looking, all right, is it going to come from this guy, or is this guy going to be dropping off? He just wants to make you think that extra second and then get that pressure to you and go either disrupt the pass or get a sack. Well, the Lions did an incredible job dealing with that, and that's a really big testament to Jared Goff, again, being able to handle pressure better. But he was 13 for 15 with 163 yards and a touchdown versus the Vikings blitz. And he was 10 for 11 for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns when he was actually under pressure. I mean, that's just a really great job going up against a great pass defense and a great pass rush to be able to say, all right, we know that this is what we're going to do, so we're going to scheme up these routes where we'll have easy options open, and Jared Goff was able to hang in there and go find those guys. So if you want to beat the blitz, that's the recipe. It's a lot easier said than done, but the Lions did a great job of doing it.
Once again, shout out to Brunell Shout out to Ben Johnson. Those guys really paired Jared Goff in an excellent way, and even with Ben Johnson, I mean, the Vikings had basically 2 weeks to prepare for you, coming off of a bye week, and you still beat them. Like that, I mean, the Vikings game plan. I mean, if you look at the statistics for both sides, I'm pretty sure it's like dead even for almost everything. Like time of possession, turnovers, third down percentage, fourth down percentage, first downs, pass yardage, rushing yards. Like I'm pretty sure it was almost dead even. I think it was that game. Um, so I mean, they went to war. Both teams went to war, and I can't. Being just a football fan, I mean, I was happy to see a game like that because games like that are the best, right? It is a defensive struggle at the same time, even though there's a lot of points, and it's a shootout at the same time because everything's just so dead even. And those are the games where you really see who's a contender and who's not because really good teams they're going to make a lot of what am I trying to say? It's 11. I just got up, y'all. I'm tripping right now. But uh those type of teams, really good teams, there's a very small margin for error. And they're not going to make as many mistakes. And those it's really the little small mistakes that really burn you, like mismanaging your rush lanes or not firing your gun. When I mean firing your gun, I mean if you're in zone or and you're covering a flat and the flat is 3 yards away from you, you know it's coming there because everything else is covered. You're not engaging in that quick enough. You miss a tackle with a bad angle. Just little tiny things like that get you beat. And the Lions and the Vikings did a very good job of staying sound in most of those things. And I mean, even like a false start can like be the difference in this game. That's how close it is, and that's how these very small mistakes are amplified between two teams like this, two very good teams like this. So it's why it's very important to be a very disciplined and well coached team. That's where coaching comes into play. So shout out to both these teams. I mean, this was just a teach tape on good teams playing good teams. Um, no reason for Vikings fans to hang their heads. I mean, hard fought battle, and you look at the stats, and I can't really tell you a point in the game where I'm like, oh yeah, that play right there lost it for the Vikings.
I don't know.
And
You really thought the opposite was going to happen, where when David Montgomery had that fumble that got returned, you thought, all right, this is the moment where the Vikings are going to win that game. But Lions fought back. And I mean, we've given a lot of credit to the Lions, but also got to give credit to the Vikings, like you're saying. Sam Darnold, especially, I mean, he was ripping some throws. And I mean, just the confidence that he has in this offense and the ability he's shown to be able to rip some difficult throws and just go in there. I mean, he's like Jared Goff. He's a quarterback that was put in a good situation and he's able to perform. And I mean, defensively, the Vikings, I mean, it showed that their defense isn't going to be perfect because I mean, they did get gashed through the air and they did get gashed on a few big runs, but they were mostly successful in shutting down the run. The problem that they ran into was because they were run blitzing so much, if they went to the wrong side, that's when a few explosive plays happen. But I mean, overall, it's like you said, it's a hard-fought battle between two contenders, and it's just a really good game.
and man, games like this is what expands the NFL's popularity. If this
Okay,
game was if this game was in London, this would have done a lot better for the league than having the fucking Patriots and Jags there.
Yeah, the
I just hate
Patriots
that
and
we had to
Jags,
go
and
to
you saw the
London at all.
matchup that they're sending to Germany.
Oh my god. Don't tell
No,
me.
what is that?
Is it the Jags again? Or are they fucking
No,
just doing the whole Europe tour?
it was the Giants and Panthers, I believe, right?
Oh
Oh
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Jesus
Giants
Christ.
fan.
and like, I mean, what are you thinking with that matchup? Like obviously
Well,
they're
I
bad
mean,
now, but
how
preseason
far
when
in
you
advance
schedule
are
it,
they?
you know both of those teams are bad teams. That's not going to
I mean,
grow
they're
the
two
game for you
East
there.
Coast teams though. I mean, you're not gonna bring Seattle to Europe, you know? You're not gonna bring the West Coast teams over there.
Well,
So I
hold on.
mean,
How far in advance do they schedule those games? Though?
You could have
That really
scheduled that
shouldn't matter
5 years
because
in
the
advance and
Panthers.
know that that's a bad matchup.
Literally, I'm like, it doesn't really matter. I mean,
You would have said that about the Lions 5 years ago, though. Like you can't
well,
say
the
that.
Lions aren't scheduled for Europe, aren't they?
Also, this was not scheduled 5 years ago, but like these are fair point on the Lions, but these are two teams that have been bad for a long time and looked like they had no prospect of being good this year.
Well,
And look
so
what's
have the
happened.
Lions. I mean, look, you can't like. I don't know. To your
The
point, it's not
Lions been on the come up since like 2021, 2022.
that
So
was 3 years ago, pal.
And at least when they even then when they
these
had
are scheduled
Stafford, at
on
least
that.
they wouldn't be a great team, but they'd at least be competitive in their matchups. I mean, these are just I feel bad for all those fans of Germany who have to go watch this game. Like, if this is your first NFL game that you're going to, which it probably is unless you were able to catch one of the other previous Germany games, my sincerest condolences to you that you have to go witness Daniel Jones versus Andy Dalton and have that be an upgrade from what you could have possibly watched if Bryce Young was the quarterback.
Hey man, they had Mac Jones versus Gardner Minshew last year, man.
You know,
I think it was Gardner Minshew. He was on the Colts last year, right?
He
mhm.
was,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
the
Anthony
bigger
Richardson was hurt. Yeah,
storyline here, the bigger storyline here is Germany is all red for the first time since the Nazis, and America's response to that was, "We're going to send the Panthers and Giants over there." So I
I'm gonna
think
tell you what's gonna be all red is when Bush Apple comes back.
so. This might start the Nazi party again. They're gonna watch. They're gonna watch the Panthers and Giants and say, "9. This is not okay. We have to exterminate everybody."
That's
So
honestly the most reasonable take for a Giants Panthers game.
it literally. So especially if Bryce Young is starting. You know what? If the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton is starting, the Red Rifle, shout out. Maybe they can hold off some eyes for a little bit. Matter of fact, no, he's a redhead. They don't like that. Never mind. No, this is awful. Don't no. This is awful.
Well,
We
it's a good
can't
thing he
have these
wears a
two
helmet.
teams go to Germany.
Let's not
He
get
does wear a
political
helmet.
before Election Day.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
nothing political about this. This is just a shitty matchup. I mean, you send that to any country and you're going to make them absolutely hate everything. But, I mean, I think Stalin would rise from the dead just to go ban football in his country if we sent that matchup to Russia.
Could you imagine Mussolini rising from the grave because we send the Jags and Panthers over there.
I'm sorry, Germany fans, that you have to watch that matchup, but
Hey,
going on
there's
to
two
other
players in
shitty
football, man.
matchups, we had that Super Bowl rematch in the Chiefs 49ers game. I think the Chiefs, we just need to accept the fact that every single game that they play this season is going to be an ugly game. I mean, credit to them because they've figured out how to win these games. But man, this is just some terrible football to watch.
They have some fucking dark magic over there, and why does every fucking team like that have some dark magic and not my Saints? Saints got voodoo on their side, and we ain't got no damn dark magic like that. What is going on here? Because they're six
QB
and
of the
zero.
wins that.
She's like dog. It's 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 unbelievable. You Debo Samuel, who was listed as questionable, just like, oh, never mind. He has like pneumonia now, just out of the fucking blue. He's not playing. Brandon Ayuk tears his ACL and his MCL mid game, and what? Trent Williams gets ejected. Uh, I mean, what is this dark magic that we're looking at? And then Patrick Mahomes fakes going out. Look, I don't know what it is about teams, but I swear when they have a chance to lay out Patrick Mahomes, they just don't do it because they're so terrified of a penalty. Fuck the penalty, kill him. Like I'm an old school defensive guy. Let a quarterback start running. I'm going to kill him because you should not be doing what you're doing, buddy. Because I'm tired of watching. He's like the fastest slow motherfucker ever. I'm tired
Is
of
this how motherfuckers felt about Tom Brady?
Well, hey, I mean, when you say he's the fastest slow guy I mean, it's just because he's half white, half black, so he's half athletic, half just pocket passer quarterback, right?
and that's how he
He's got that.
moves.
He's
And
got that grit, man.
it's infuriating. It's infuriating to watch him like fake running out of bounds and like pump fake 32 times when he's 5 yards past the line of scrimmage and like Bender's like, and they just run past him. I'm like, all right, come on now,
Hold on,
guys.
why are you mad about that when Jameis Winston did the same thing, bro?
James Winston ain't on my team, so I don't give a fuck about what the hell James Winston does.
No, he wasn't your team when he did that little 9-yard sack, brother.
Hey man, James is James. I know what James is gonna bring, so I can't be mad at anything he does because James is James, and James also made the face of the league, so he ain't gonna get no calls. So
I know
it's just
we're talking about this game, but I mean, while we're on Jameis, what do you think about? You saw this like speech he gave to the press after the game when
okay.
he was
Hold
talking
on,
about
I
Deshaun?
think I think I can speak on this because it's happened to me. When it happened, I was watching the game. I saw it. I saw the step he took. That's the exact same step I took when I ruptured mine. And I saw the calf bounce. I was like, I already know what happened. Everybody's sitting here like, oh my goodness, what happened? I'm like, I know what happened. That Achilles just left.
I
And
thought I was gonna go on a tangent about this is what happened to me. I went through a massage parlor, and now they know what's
no,
going on.
I'm not. No, I'm not. You would be more likely to go to massage parlor than me, buddy.
I ain't about that. I got a massage parlor at home, pal.
Well, okay.
Oh yeah, whatever that means. See, look. Well, I told y'all, watch out
Yeah,
for Preston, Freaky P.
him and
Just watch
Aaron are
out for him.
getting freaky.
Yeah, Freaky A, Freaky T, and Freaky P. There they go.
We love our white
But
women, me too.
no, all right, no. But um, yeah. So I will say it's. I don't want. I would never wish an Achilles rupture on anyone, and like it doesn't hurt. It's not a painful injury, but you just kind of know that you're done. And with an Achilles rupture, there's really no. I mean, especially for him, I understand all the things that he's done. And all the things he's done is pretty bad. Sexually assaulting people and all the cases he got going on, and that's terrible. But I mean, I'm looking at everybody laugh at him and shit on him, and look, we're all human, and empathy should be a thing. And I just feel a little more empathy for him because I had the injury, and every NFL player I see have the injury, I just feel a little bit more for him because I'm looking at like if you take away all the things he's done, which you can't. I mean, it's terrible, but the guy tore his ACL in college, misses a year. He tears his ACL in the pros, misses a year. Then he gets suspended for a year. Um, and then he ruptures his Achilles. So like 3 years in a row, he's missing basically entire seasons. And I know what it does mentally to rupture your Achilles and have to sit out for that long. And then and maybe I shouldn't feel as bad because he got 200 million fucking dollars guaranteed. I mean, if I was here at this school, ruptured my Achilles, where they were like, "Yeah, we gave you 200 million dollars guaranteed," I don't think I'd be sitting there like, this is not the worst, you know. But I mean, for him, that's a lot that he's been through, and I can understand Jameis when he says that because like imagine, right? You are out there, you're trying to be a better person, you're trying to move on from all these things that people have said about you. People hate you. You're trying to be the best you can before the team. You want to help the team win. It's just not going right. You rupture your Achilles, and then your own fans are cheering. Like, imagine what that feels like for a person. I don't really agree with it. I don't like it. You can put aside all the shit they did, terrible. But I mean, he didn't, I'm not trying to, quantify what he did and, or lessen what he did.
I mean, no,
But
I think what you're saying is just like, I mean, having someone like Jameis on your team that supports like your teammates. I mean, those are your brothers. You go to war with each other, and I mean that's what Jameis did is something you want to see out of your teammates, man. Like, yeah, he may have messed up or whatever, but that it's the past. You try to look past it, and if he's trying to do better, then you got to give him grace. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if he was out here murdering people, it'd be a different thing. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not saying I agree with what he did. I don't. I mean, I definitely don't agree with what he did. Or was accused of doing. But it's in the past. He's trying to do better. And I mean, that's Jameis's teammate. That's who you go to war with, and you're going to defend him. In battle. So
I mean, it
Um,
just sucks. It sucks because I've been trying to tell people like if it happened to you 3 years in a row where you can't do the thing that you really want to do, and now it's looking like you may not be able to do it anymore because he's already not looked like the same player already from being off for basically 2 years, and then he's trying to work his way up, and then this happens, and everybody that you're supposed to be playing for, 80,000, 90,000 fans of the team that you play for are cheering because you got hurt, and you can hear it. I mean, that is I can't even imagine how that feels. And even with 200 million, I'm sure he would give up the 200 million dollars and his his beautiful girl or whatever. Shout out to her, little Instagram mile. Um, I'm sure he would give all that up if it meant that that moment wouldn't have ever happened, or if the other ACL injuries would have never happened. I promise you, a lot of people probably would.
Well, I mean, look,
Um,
and the thing that you really hit on is, look, regardless of what you like, if you're a Browns fan, regardless of what you think about Deshaun, regardless about like how wrong you think what he did was, how bad he's played, Jameis is going to defend him no matter what because that's his teammate, and like they're going to battle together. Like they're going to have each other's backs, and they should. Like even if Deshaun is 100% in the wrong or whatever, it's not Jameis's role to go out in a press conference and say, it's like, yeah, I'm happy that the fans booed. No, he's going to be, of course, upset with them because that's his teammate, and that's really what it boils down to. So you totally get where he's coming from. But my biggest takeaway from that is, I mean, we've seen it every time that he does an interview or anything, but man, Jameis is just so good at talking. Like,
he's great, man. He's gonna be a preacher, or he already is a preacher, but I can see him in a broadcast role. I hope he goes into TV
he'd be
after his
so
career's
good in
over.
TV. He'd be so good, like, as a politician, just giving speeches, just like anything that
He'd
he
be
could
great
do
as
where
a
he's
coach.
talking.
Hell, a motivating coach.
Yeah, motivational speaker. I mean, he's just so well spoken. And I mean, shout out to him for being like one of the most loved teammates in the league.
And man, he's a glue guy. You need a guy like that on every team. Um, I
But
will say though,
go
for the
for it.
Browns, this is probably for the best. Um, it is kind of funny that Jameis got listed as the third string quarterback for the first time this year, and then fucking Deshaun ruptures his Achilles. I mean, that's just crazy, crazy luck
Yeah, no,
on
go
Jameis'
throw out your
part.
conspiracy theories now that that they knew that it was going to happen, so they made sure Jameis couldn't play.
Yeah, they made sure James could play. Well, now he's gonna have to play. Well, I guess they're going with DTR. Um, I think that's a reunion. I'm pretty sure he played there
He did.
before. Yeah, shout out to them. But this is going to end up being better. This is going to be like a Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson situation, or hell, Joe Flacco situation. Period. Like this is probably going to be better off for the Browns. They might win more games now, and whatever. But um, get well to Deshaun. I understand. With the Achilles rupture, it's not easy. It's a long, drawn out process, and it's real frustrating because you're doing shit over and over and over again for a month straight, and it's just gonna feel like there's no progress. But it's just something that just got to keep on grinding out. Um, but the Browns, I guess they're gonna be better off for it. I forgot what game were we even talking about
We were
before
talking
we
about
went
the
on.
Chiefs. We'll get back to that. I mean, yeah, I mean the
Yeah,
Browns. I mean they can't be any worse off for it with how bad they are. But go. I mean, this is a perfect transition. Bad quarterback play. Let's get back to the Chiefs.
shout out to, I mean, so let's say this. This is gonna be my, and it's gonna connect to the Saints, and I'm not trying to connect to the Saints. So here y'all go. Just take about 5 drinks, everybody. Um, so being up here in Missouri, I have to deal with a lot of Chiefs fans talking about my Saints. Oh, we beat y'all. Y'all trash. Ha ha ha. I have to explain to them. I'm like, look, I'm not the one for making excuses, but I want y'all to understand how hard it is to win a football game when Dennis Allen is your head coach number one, and then you're missing QB1, you're missing left guard one, and left guard 2. You're missing center 1 and center 2, and you're missing right guard 1. And if you want to say right tackle 1, because Ramczyk, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna really put that there, but I guess I can because he is out for injury. I don't know if he's retiring or what he got going on. But anyway, you're missing wide receiver 1 and you're missing wide receiver 2. You're missing tight end 1 and Taysom Hill. I mean, how do you expect to win football games with all of that going on? So I got some messages actually last night because I actually sent like a graphic of all the injuries that the Saints had on the offensive side of the ball. And I sent it to a Chiefs fan that I like messing with. And he was like, doesn't matter. The Chiefs have hella injuries too, and we still find a way to win. And I said, okay, go ahead. He said, Isaiah Pacheco, running back 1. Wide receiver 1 and 2 in Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown. I forgot who else he said. But I think that's really mostly everybody. And I was like, okay, well, the thing is, you still have Andy Reid as a coach, who's the best coach in the league. And Hollywood Brown didn't play a single regular season snap for y'all. So you can't say, "Oh, we're missing wide receiver too." You guys paid him y'all gave him a 1-year contract, and he's only played in the preseason, like 1 game. Like you can't call him wide receiver 2 off of that, like just because of his name. That's the only reason why you're calling him that. So you can't use that. Oh, we're missing him. No, I don't count that. Rashee Rice, sure, but you drafted Xavier Worthy, and you have Travis Kelce. So we've seen worse wide receiving cores be successful. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's now a Saint, shout out. Um, he was there for you last year. I mean, that's who you throwing the ball to, and y'all still won the championship. Um, so I said, all right, to quantify it even more, go ahead and win a game without Pacheco, without Rashee Rice, without Xavier Worthy, without Travis Kelce, without Creed Humphrey, without Trent Brown. I think is that their right tackle? I'm probably tripping on that. Um, and whoever their right guard is and their left guard is, make them a third string. Bring out the third string for left guard and right guard. And then y'all go ahead and tell me if y'all are going to win some games like that with no Patrick Mahomes either. And he's like, we will. I'm like, you're foolish. You're not. You're not winning games. They just signed Bailey Zappi to the practice squad. So basically, go ahead and tell me you're going to win a game with Bailey fucking Zappi.
Preston's
Hey
guy.
man, put some respect on his name, man. Chill, chill, chill. He beat the
I
Packers
played
a few
against
years
Bailey
ago.
Zappi, by the way. The guy's legit. Dead ass. He's good folk. Um, but I mean, look, they can think that. I promise you, no team in the league would win with the injuries that they have going on for the Saints. Look at the damn 49ers. 49ers have hella injuries too. I mean, they're wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 and running back 1. Their left tackle got ejected. They're dealing with a lot of injuries too. And you see how that's affecting them. They're
I mean, that's
struggling.
something that we need to talk about is how many injuries the 49ers seem to deal with every single year.
And you know what? So I'm gonna connect this once again. Saints. I hate myself for this. So y'all know how
Bet.
the Saints moved their training camp to Cali. The 49ers also trained out there in Cali. I don't think they were too far away from each other. I find it very odd that the two most injured teams are kind of practicing in the same vicinity. You know what I mean? So maybe don't train in Cali. That's what I got from that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the weather, I don't know if it's the air, I don't know the ground, I don't know. But something fishy has been happening over there, and I think it's without being said. The 49ers and the Saints both need new medical staff. They both need new strength and conditioning staffs. Um, I mean, hell, one guy, Elijah Mitchell. I mean, first of all, Elijah Mitchell seems like he has like a fucking season-ending injury every year for like the past 4 years, and that's just odd. It's very odd. Um, or hell, maybe for the 49ers, it's just the Madden curse. Let's just call it that, because I know people are gonna think that. Oh my God, the Madden curse. The Madden curse is not only killing Christian McCaffrey, it is killing the whole damn team.
Maybe
The
so, but
Madden curse is very real.
here's my question for you. Are the 49ers a playoff team this year?
Sure.
Because I mean, when
Yeah,
you
they're
think
still a
about it,
playoff team. They're still a
I
playoff team.
mean,
I don't know if
on
they're going to
paper,
Super Bowl.
they they made the Super Bowl. They have a ton of talent. They have all that. But when you look at the rest of the NFC, they're sitting there at 3-4. Their best path is probably their division at this point, as crazy as it sounds, because that wild card is brutal. You've got the whole NFC North looking like they want to make the playoffs. All of
The
them have a
Bears
better
are
record
lost.
than
The
them right
Bears are
now.
fast.
You have the Falcons lost, which helps them, but the Falcons and Bucks, they're both battling for the division, and the loser of that might be another wild card team because you have them both sitting with 4 wins right now. You've got and the NFC East, you've got the Commanders and Eagles looking like they're going to battle for the division, and the loser of that battle might also be in the wild card hunt. So then all of a sudden, you've got all of those teams that all have winning records. So that's what you've got 4, 6, you got like 8, 9 teams if you count the Seahawks there, all with the winning records that you have to compete with. If you don't win your division, that is going to be a tough wild card race.
You know, I mean, when I say playoff team, maybe I mean they could be a playoff team. Like on paper, they should be. But I just, with all the circumstances that you mentioned, it's just probably gonna be one of them situations like the Western Conference in the NBA. It's just too many teams that's just too close to each other, too many little circumstances that just might happen or may not have happened, and that will allow you to not make it. Um, Maybe the injuries are too far to overcome. Like I always say, it's best to have the injuries now than later. And maybe they hit their stride in the back end of the season, which I think they will. Um, will Jordan Love and company slow down? Will the Vikings come back to earth if they ever do? Will Washington come back to earth if they ever do? Will the Seahawks slow down? I mean, the Seahawks seem to be a very consistent team every single week. So, I mean, I think they just are what they are. Um, but or will the Bears come back to earth, or are they just hitting their stride, and are they going to get even better? You know, the Lions, you basically shoehorn them in. So it's going to be tough. It is, and also, I mean, I guess the Bucks are going to be on the downhill now. They're going to be without their top 2 receivers for some significant time. Um, I don't know. It's scary times for 49ers. I wouldn't sound the alarms yet, but y'all are getting close. They're getting close.
I mean, yeah, you don't sound the alarms, but it's like I say, the stealing wins. While on the flip side, when you're getting wins stolen from you by the Cardinals, wins stolen from you by the Rams, I mean, your path that you'd think you have is, all right, look, we're not doing great, but we have some easier matchups against our divisional teams. All we have to do is just be better than the Seahawks and we win the division. So you'd think it's a clear path, but they've already lost 2 divisional games that they should have won. They're already super injured, and that's why you got to win the games that you're supposed to win early on and not dig yourself into a hole like this. So it's definitely going to be interesting for them. Purdy's also got to step it up. My concern for their offense is, especially now that Ayuk is done for the year, who is going to get open for this team? Because all that the Chiefs did, it wasn't very complicated. Yes, they brought some pressures and stuff. That's what Spagnuolo does. But the main thing they did, they just manned up on them, especially on third down, and nobody would get open. So they don't have any separators at all of it on that team at this point. And Purdy was 5 for 14 for 80 yards and 3 picks versus men.
Well, this is going to be a very telling time for Debo Samuel whenever he comes back, because there's already that narrative about him that he can't really separate. He's not that great of a route runner. And then I guess Jawan Jennings is going to have to pick up the slack a lot. Um, and we got to be real about it. The Shanahan offensive scheme is hiding a lot of flaws. And when you have injuries and you start getting lower and lower and lower on that depth chart, these flaws are going to get amplified a lot. Because I remember, God damn it, I keep doing it. 2021 Saints wide receiver room. We always said they need someone who's a deep ball threat. They need someone who can get open. We're sitting there with Kenny Stills, Kevin White as wide receiver 1 and 2, Marquez Callaway, who I think was out one of those games. Trevor Siemian is a starting quarterback. I mean, it was an awful fucking roster. Tony Jones is starting their running back. It was just awful. And I think we played the Rams. All the Rams did was man blitz because they knew the O line was a little banged up also, or the O line wasn't at least good enough to sustain against a blitz for any reliable amount of time. And they knew that the receivers for the Saints were not good enough to get open off of man, at least not quick enough. And that completely shut down the Saints offense. And yeah, that's basically really that's the only not really only way, but that's really the best way. And it's like you said what Spags did against a team that has terrible route runners, just man blitz. If you believe in your corners like that, you'll be fine. Whole game. I guarantee you might slip up 1 or 2 times. It happens. I mean, it's hard being a defensive back. I mean, you gotta be perfect every single snap. And that's just not realistic. So
It's not. And
I don't know.
that's really what's
Maybe
going to be telling because the cracks are showing for the 49ers. Are guys going to be able to step up? Or, I mean, we'll see. I mean, hey, maybe this is the chance. I think Terrace Marshall is still on their practice squad, so maybe this can be his breakout, right?
oh, no. Well, maybe in this offensive scheme, maybe Ricky Pearsall steps up. I don't know.
Yeah,
Relying
how
on a
about
rookie,
the only receiver that they have that's healthy is the one that got shot?
the one that got shot in the chest. Imagine that. I don't know. Maybe they trade for Cooper Cup. I know it's an in division thing. They probably won't. See, this is
No,
more
that
dark magic by the Chiefs because the
McVay's
Chiefs
not
are
going to
like,
trade him to him.
see, the Chiefs are number 1 right now on the odds for getting Cooper Cup. That's just dark magic, man. Like, you're going to sit here and tell me you lose Rasheed Rice and everyone's like, oh, yes, they're finally going down. And they're like, nope, we're going to get Cooper Cup. That's dark magic, man. Dark magic.
They got
Matter of
plot
fact,
armor, but
I know a guy who the 49ers can pick up. Michael Thomas. Go pick him up, man. Go give him a job. Go give him a job. He'll
no,
get open.
don't give him a job there because he'll just get hurt playing for the 49ers. Send him somewhere where he can stay healthy.
Send him to the biggest plot armor team of all time with the Chiefs. Send him there.
That would be the plot armor right there. Michael Thomas goes to the Chiefs and has a resurgence.
But then again, is the Saints voodoo of badness and bad luck, is that gonna overtake the plot armor of the Chiefs? That's the real battle here. What's stronger, their plot armor or our shitty luck?
Well, no, it'd be like the Pelicans where a guy leaves the Pels and becomes a great player.
Yeah, but the difference between that is this was already a great player. When the Pelicans guy leaves, he wasn't a great player. He just becomes one. This guy is already a great player or was a great player.
That's fair.
So
But anyway, I don't think anyone cares about the Pelicans or Michael Thomas right now. No offense. Let's go to a game that people do care about. Packers and Texans. What are your
what the
thoughts
fuck,
here?
CJ? What the fuck, CJ Stroud? See, I did all this hyping up for CJ Stroud earlier this year on earlier podcasts, and he has not been helping my case for him. Um, and you know what? I kind of knew this was gonna happen when I seen Stephon Diggs trying to fight the whole fucking team, the whole Packers team pregame. I knew his ass was getting clamped up after that, and I knew all the other receivers were gonna get clamped up too. And this was just not. I mean, I this is just one of those games where, as a quarterback, I'm like, man, he's showing a lot of flaws right now, and maybe it's just a really good game. I mean, it was a great game plan by the Packers, but CJ Stroud, he was still stable. I guess like he made a lot of mistakes. He was running for his life a lot of times. I did not I did not think that their O line was that bad. At least the Packers made him look that bad because it seemed like anytime CJ gets the ball, he's already running for his life.
No, their O line
Um,
is that bad.
that's that's crazy. I guess the teams they've been playing have been hiding that a little bit, but it really came into fruition this game. Um, and that makes me wonder, like, are other teams going to look at this and say, "All right, this is what we got to do," because it's copycat league, and once you put that shit on film, that's a way to beat you. So you need to clean that up. But is O line is a really hard thing to clean up mid season. You know what I mean? It kind of never really happens.
No, well, the
Um,
thing is, there wasn't really anything put on film special to beat them. The way that the Texans O line was getting beat was simple stunts and just guys going unblocked. You had multiple situations where it's like they didn't know their assignments. You had one where Tunsil goes and he passes off a guy on a chip because he thinks the running backs could be picking him up on the slide. The running back's not, and then it's an easy sack right there. You have Rashawn Gary a few times just getting off completely unblocked because guys don't know where they're supposed to be. And I mean, I know part of it is they just don't have a lot of talent on the O line, but when guys don't understand their assignments, and you're seeing that is where you really see that it's just bad coaching. And sorry about that. We had issue pop up here, but no. I mean, because it was really just a bunch of guys getting through unblocked. Like, that's just bad coaching right there. Guys don't know their assignments, and sure, you can be a bad O lineman, but if you at least know where your assignment is, then you can at least make an attempt to block a guy. There were just probably like 6 or so plays where it was just free rushers that nobody was blocking. That's something that is a little bit of a concern.
but still, shout out to Joe Mixon though, because I mean he definitely changed the way that offense operates in the red zone, and he's been man, he's vulturing all my damn touchdowns
Well,
for
Joe Mixon has really bailed out this. Not really. I mean, he's bailed out, but he's also made this team look a lot better than it is. Because when you
oh
look at
yeah.
his stats, he had 115 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. But his average yards per carry was 4.6, which isn't bad. But it's just every week his rushing stats are bolstered by he'll have a couple long runs, which credit to him for being able to do it. Big credit to him for showing some juice because everyone, myself included, thought, all right, he looks like he's kind of on the tail end of being a good running back last year with the Bengals. Now, maybe that's just their O-line is that bad because he's shown some juice even with a bad O-line here. But overall, the Texans offense, we saw how bad they were against the Packers pass rush, who in the Packers pass rush hasn't even been that standout this year. They do a good job of manufacturing pressures, but they're one of the worst teams at one-on-one pass rushing in the league. So if they're not manufacturing pressures, they should be a team that you're able to block. But obviously they weren't able to block that, and the Texans had a 36% rushing success rate in this game. So 36% of their runs were what you'd call successful. It's just the same formula you see with them every week where the run game, except besides a few explosive plays that Mixon's able to break off, the run game isn't good, and they set themselves behind the chains, and then they have a bad O-line for pass protection, so when they need long yardage, they're cooked.
But for a team like that, it is nice that really one of the only issue I say only issue, but a big issue is the O line because you can address that. You don't have there's not other many holes that I can really think about off the top of my head without really diving deep into them to where it's like, all right, we need to spend draft capital here. Most of the draft capital can be spent on O line, and then that can just be built up over the years. Um, so I guess it's a shitty problem to have right now, but it is a problem that's at least fixable. Um, and they have a little bit of cap, so I mean they can probably go get somebody. But shout out to Joe Mixon, man. Shout out to him for really showing the league, hey man, look, I'm here. I'm actually a really good back. I know y'all was sleeping on me for a few years, but I mean he's always been a consistent back. But he definitely is a massive improvement um over Damian Pierce and Devin Singletary last year. Because I remember people were hyping up Damian Pierce like crazy, but um Jordan Love, man, he showed some flashes of Brett Favre being a damn gunslinger. Should have had a couple of picks. I mean, he did, but he should have had more picks. But fuck, the ball went through the defender's hands on that Tucker Craft touchdown. Um, that I mean, I ain't gonna say nothing about Jordan Love because I'm still on my hate train for the fact he got
Nah,
all that
he's
money.
Brett Favre 2.0. Like, he can make all these throws, and if you are not a Packers fan, he might be the most fun quarterback to watch because he's going to just rip whatever throw he thinks is open, whether it's open or not. And, I mean, it's just fun to watch because lots of times he'll hit on these throws and it'll be very impressive, but then you'll see the picks and you'll see where it can go wrong. But, I mean, if I was a Packers fan, I mean, I'd be happy right now because we're sitting at 5-2 and Jordan Love looks pretty good. But, man, it would be stressful watching those games because all of a sudden you got a drive going and then Jordan Love just throws a stupid pick because he thinks he can make the throw. And I mean, credit to him, he is able to make those throws. But I mean, we'll just see how it goes with that experience. I mean, Brett Favre had a very good career. He threw a lot of interceptions but had a lot of success, and I think that's the career arc that Jordan Love is on.
I mean, it's not a bad career arc to be on. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. So shout out to the Packers for that's also dark magic. You get three franchise quarterbacks back to back to back without any turnover whatsoever. So dark magic for them too. Um, Speaking of also dark magic, Bucks game. You
Bucks game.
lose you lose your top two receivers in a blink of an eye. Chris Godwin's probably out for the season. And I feel for him because this is the same thing that really happened to Mike Thomas, right? A fucking greedy coach keeping the starters in a game that's out of reach, unnecessary, hurts himself in garbage time, and ends up being out for the season. And his ankle is never the same, and he just continually gets hurt with lower body injuries. And albeit he was dealing with the Ochsner medical staff, but so I'm sure Chris Godwin won't have to go through that. But it is something to note that we have seen this before. Um, feel bad, Chris Godwin. I mean, if you read his lips when it happened, he was like, "What a shame." You know, I'd be pissed off. I'd be extremely pissed off, and I don't know how he feels about Todd Bowles, but honestly, it'd be fuck you to Todd Bowles for a long time. And like, look, maybe Chris Godwin wants to be in that situation. Um, so maybe he puts the blame on himself. I don't know, but he's a competitor, so he probably did want to be out there and try to pull off the most improbable and unlikely win of all time. But it's just, I mean, it's stat padding, I guess, too. I don't know.
Oh, no, I'm
It's just,
obviously, I mean, you're never going to see a guy saying, hey, no, I want to be off the field. No. They,
well, no,
well,
no, 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 because Saquon last week when he or earlier, I guess it was earlier this week when he had 176 yards, where the fuck he was 13 yards away from beating his career high, and they asked him on the sideline, "Hey, look, we know the game's already won, but we want to put you. We're going to pull the stars, but we want you to go out there and get your 13 yards and break your record." And he was like, "Hell no,
yeah.
no."
Shout out
So
to Saquon for being smart there, but let me rephrase that. No player's ever going to want to come off the field in a 10-point game, even if, I mean, they weren't winning that game because they needed another onside kick, but, I mean, the players are going to want to go out there and try. That's when the coach, you probably just got to make the decision. Sure, you could win this game, but what you would
you're
have to
not.
do to win is just, it's not worth getting the injury risk at this point when you've seen how banged up teams are getting already. Sometimes, I mean, it's tough because you don't want to go and just say, all right, we're going to lose the game, but let the backups go and try and win the game on that drive.
And let's be honest, the Bucks have been winning because I mean, look, this is a war of attrition. That's what the entire NFL season is. The healthiest teams are probably going to win. The Bucks have been a relatively healthy team, and that's what allowed them to win some of these games, some of these tougher games. And now you lose your top two guys. Pick up K Dot in fantasy if y'all haven't already. But I mean, it sucks. It sucks for Chris Godwin, and Todd Bowles should be under investigation for coaching malpractice. Because yeah, look, we're down by 10 points. At the time, they wasn't down by 10 points. That was they went in and scored with Rashad White. But even being down by like 3 or 4 scores and you go and fucking kick a onside kick, I mean, what are you doing as a coach? Look, sure, you bring the game to within 10, but come on. I mean, there's 6 minutes left in the game and you have to score 4 times in the NFL. That's never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Be smart. And I mean, the Todd Bowles, he definitely needs to be looked at for that. I mean, that's just unacceptable. Um, and I feel more for him because Chris Godwin is he's a free agent now, and you best believe, everyone's sitting here saying, "Oh, we're sorry for him," and they're wishing him well in the organization. But fuck, how ownership is and GMs, they will in fact use this against him in contract negotiations, and that's why shout out to Brandon Ayuk because he sat out and held out. He got his money, and he secured long-term financial security because look what happened. Imagine he was playing without a contract and he tore his ACL and MCL. He's not getting 180 million, however much he's getting. He's not getting that anymore. No. So now Chris Godwin is sitting here with no long-term financial security, and he's probably going to miss out on a lot of millions of dollars just because of this injury. Because Todd Bowles wants to keep the starters in. So it sucks. The league is also deeming that a hip drop tackle now, by the way, which we all know how this is going to go. They're not going to call a hip drop until the Chiefs are fourth and whatever for the Chiefs in the playoffs. They're finna lose the game. They need this fourth down to get it, and then they throw the ball to Travis Kelce or some shit. Normal tackle, and they're going to throw the flag for a hip drop. It's going to be the only hip drop call in the entire league. Guarantee it. But they're deeming it a hip drop. It wasn't called. They're finding Raquan Smith for it. I think it's fucking stupid, but whatever.
You know what
the
my
Ravens,
biggest
man,
beef with Bowles and the Bucks is for that? It's not even
What?
the fact that they left the starters out there and that they were throwing it. No, it's the fact that after Chris Godwin gets injured, after you see your receiver who arguably has been your best receiver on the year and definitely is your best receiver right now with Mike Evans out, get done for the year. They still keep the starters in and they still keep throwing it. Like, you would think at that point they'd say, all right, let's just get out of here without any more injuries. But no, they go, yeah, let's go keep throwing it. Let's go keep our starters out here. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, it's just stupid.
But you know what? Hey, that's on them. They got to play the Saints again, so they want to keep on getting all their players hurt. Go ahead, be my guest.
Saints are tanking at this point. They suck. I mean, we don't need to get into them because that was the Thursday game. You've already said your piece. They suck.
Ass. But shout out to the Ravens. The Ravens, hey man, I told you they're gonna hit their stride, and they have.
Yeah, I mean, I think they look like the team to beat at this point.
Yeah, man. Everybody was tripping. Oh my god. Oh, look, fucking Mark Andrews. Fuck. See, I knew it was gonna happen. I drop him, and his fucking ass wants to drop 2 weeks back to back of 15 points plus.
I told you not to. I told you.
Yeah,
that.
you did. But you know what, man? I picked up Cole Kmet. He's been pretty decent for me, so it's like I have no reason to let him go. And at the time, the way my team was going, I was losing a little bit. I was like 2-3 at the time. Or nope, 2-2. Well, I was 1-2. I didn't have time. I was like, look, man, I gotta change some shit up.
Hey,
I can't wait.
Waiver wire advice for anyone watching. Cade Otton, make him a priority pickup if he's available in any of your leagues. I mean, you saw he went off. He was the leading receiver for the Bucs this game, and he's gonna be probably the number one target until Mike Evans returns, which might not be for a little while. So when you look, other than him, they've got Sterling Shepard. I mean, I guess he could make a resurgence. They got Jalen McMillan, who's another guy I would definitely watch. Rookie receiver. It's going to be in an expanded role. They got Trey Palmer, and then they've got their running backs. They really don't have any other passing weapons. Cade Otton's going to get a lot of volume, but being a tight end, it's not like he's going to all of a sudden have the number one corner matched up against him. So definitely a value to add. Make him your number one priority this week, probably, if you're in need of a tight end and he's available. But It's a little bit of a fantasy note. On to the Ravens. I mean, there's not really much to say about them. I mean, the scoreline doesn't tell the story. This was a game where they dominated, and they look like they're probably the team to beat in the league right now. Lamar, excellent. He was efficient. He was hitting on big shots, and he threw for 5 touchdowns. Had a 158.1 rating, which is a few decimal places off of being a perfect passer rating. And then you got Derrick Henry, who he's going to go off for 15 carries and 169 yards. And I mean, it's just such a tough team to defend when you've got to worry about Derrick Henry just running all over you. And then you've got Lamar, who you got to worry about running all over you. But he's also just slinging the ball so well. Even with, I mean, you wouldn't call this a super strong receiving core, but Rashad Bateman, he had a few big plays, ended up having a big game. And what they realized is like, look, what we lack in overall quality, we have enough depth that we'll just spread the ball around. So many different guys got receptions, and they're able to get open because you're so worried about Derrick Henry. You're so worried about Lamar running it. So it's just an offense that's firing, and I think this is finally a Lamar Jackson Ravens that have found their identity and stuck to it. They realized we don't need to try and force and do some things. No, we know what we're good at. We're going to do that, and we're going to play off of that, and it's working great.
Shout out to them, man. Shout out to the Ravens for realizing their true potential. Which, look, I know I got a lot of things wrong, but I'm glad I got that right because they are an enjoyable team to watch, and in the AFC, so I don't have to worry about them whooping up on my Saints every damn playoff time. Well, Saints ain't going there.
Yeah,
but
playoff time. That's funny.
playoffs, trying to win a game. Um, so I kind of put them in the boat of like the Bears. Obviously the Ravens are much better, but like I'm talking about a team who they just need to find their identity and then stick with it. The Bears, I think, they're going in the right direction to it. Just give them a couple of weeks. I think they'll finally be there. Um, what other games? What other
I know,
games are we
man.
talking about? I
We
know
had
we're
a lot
getting
of other
close.
storylines. I mean, I think one thing that's worth mentioning is we're obviously not going to get into this game because it was such a bad matchup, but shout out Marcus Mariota coming in. Jaden got hurt. Hopefully he's fine. Hopefully he's able to come back soon and not really have any problems. But shout out Marcus Mariota. I know it was against the Panthers, but he comes in and he was slinging it. I mean, he had a really great game. Ended up, again, it's against the Panthers, but he ended up with 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, 18 for 23, was efficient. And I mean, shout out to him. Um, Not a shout out to the Panthers. I mean, they just showed that if there was any doubt, they are the worst team in the league. I mean, no one expected them to win this game, but when the starting quarterback gets hurt right away in the game, you at least would think, hey, maybe we could go put up a fight, you know? This is a defense in Washington that teams have been able to score on, so let's get some points. So at least put up a fight, stay competitive. No, they get blown out 40-7. So I mean, they suck. But what do you expect? I think one thing that we definitely do need to get into before we get out of here is Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Steelers, Jets. Russ making his debut for the Steelers and looking great.
So my thing before I even get into that is, so y'all motherfuckers thought Devontae Adams was going to solve y'all issues? Hmm? No. You got King perked out himself in Aaron Rodgers. And I'm sure he's going to blame somebody else this motherfucking week for his interception or whatever. Because that's what he does. He blames everybody else but himself. Not a good dude. Not a good team player. Uh, I want better for you, Devontae. I don't know what would have been better. Maybe you just need to stop trying to just play with your homies. Because it hasn't worked out for you in recent years. You go with Derek Carr, you sucked. Well, not you, but team sucked. You're like, oh, maybe I go with Derek Carr again on another shitty team. Or do I go with Aaron Rodgers again on another shitty team? So shitty teams is all he knows at this point in his career. Uh, but yeah. But Russell Wilson, man, fuck Steelers Nation, let's ride. I guess because he looked good, man. He looked real shitty those first couple drives, and I had some tweets already fired up, ready to go. I should have started Justin. He's fucking ass. But nah, he the veteran presence came back. Um, fuck, and I forgot about the little moon ball he does. I feel like I didn't see many of them when he was with Denver, but what is more cheesy than a fucking Russell Wilson moon ball and a tall possession receiver? You know what I mean? That's just cheesy.
And he
Um,
threw, I
George,
mean, shout out Pickens for making some tough catches, but he threw some beautiful balls to him.
I mean, George Pickens is probably the best receiver in the league for 50-50 balls. I mean, he prided himself with that in college. Really his whole career, he said. And so I mean, I have no reason not to believe him at this point. I mean, just about every catch he did was some crazy shit.
And I mean, this
Um,
is really the first time he's gotten to show off that skill set in the league, too, because none of the quarterbacks he's had have been known for their pinpoint accuracy, being able to put him in positions where he can make those contested catches. So I think this is finally a quarterback, if Russ can keep playing like this, that can use that skill set, because contested catch doesn't mean just going and catching a bad ball over a receiver. It means having the ball put in the right place where it's going to be contested, but you're able to make a play on it instead of having to play defense as a receiver.
right. You know, I think a better question would be, what does this mean for Justin Fields? If Russell Wilson sustains this, what does this mean for Fields? I mean, what is next for him? I think he's on a 1 year. Where does he go? I mean, if you're the Browns, do you try instead of using a draft pick on a quarterback? Um, who else would probably need a
I mean, I
QB?
think at this point, maybe a team like that would take a shot on him if they. I think where it's going to be is either it's going to be a team that needs a quarterback and doesn't end up with the one that they like, or he's probably going to. It might be a bit unfair to him because, I mean, he wasn't great, but he is playing well, and the team was playing well while he was a starter. But I think he's probably at this point just going to go end up be a backup, and then he's just got to hope it can be something like Baker with the Rams, where he goes and he's a backup and he's able to get in, he impresses, and then gets another shot. But it sucks for Fields. I mean, it's just a shitty situation for him because he didn't really do anything wrong, but I think we really saw why Russ was supposed to be the starter going into the season. They saw, all right, this is what he can do with the offense. We really like it, and he executed well. I think the Steelers as a whole just were fired up by his debut, too. I mean, they came out of the gate. They were energized. They're playing with fire. Like on their first, I think it's like their first drive, you see Najee Harris go and have a nice run. He's down the sideline, and then he's getting hyped. The whole sideline's getting hyped. They're just fired up. Their defense, you obviously know what they're going to do. And also, shout out to the Steelers' special teams because they are definitely, they're saying this on the broadcast, they definitely have to be the best team in the league at blocking field goals. I mean, they blocked another kick in this game, and they said they take pride in doing that. Like, that's their whole identity as a special teams. And, I mean, teams need to take note because they succeed with it.
Best team in the league at blocking punts will always be the Saints. It seems like we do that shit like 5 times a year. But field goals, I'll give it to the Steelers for sure. Um, Also, I was like looking at like the player intros and shit for like defense when it came on the broadcast, and they had like 2 guys on the D line. T.J. Watt, I think, who was number 2 ranked in PFF, and then Cam Hayward, who was like number 1. And I was like, man, how does that feel to have a great D line? Man, fuck, it must be nice. Um, and shout out to Mike Tomlin too, man. Everybody called him crazy for starting Russ. Maybe he saw something we didn't. Uh, but then again, also right. Maybe we can't look at this because the Jets are a bad football team. So maybe this was a very opportunistic time for us. Just win against a shitty team. And it didn't look great in the first half, but coming out and scoring what like 20 some unanswered points. I mean, you gotta give them that. You gotta give them that. Um,
shout out the Steelers for hanging in there. Like, as good as the Ravens look, and as much as we've talked about as they look like the team to beat, Steelers are in a position where you know those AFC North games are always going to be tough. If they can just steal one, maybe they can even steal both the matchups with the Ravens, all of a sudden they're in the fight for the. They could win that division, and I think the Ravens are definitely the favorites in that division. They definitely look like they're the better team just with how dominant they look. But Steelers have a solid team, and all it takes is stealing that one win. If you could steal both wins, then you're probably set. So good for them. But the converse, if they were in the NFC, you'd be saying they're 5-2 and they're still having to battle for the wild card. They sit 5-2 in the AFC. They're pretty much, I mean, unless they just melt down and fall apart, they're pretty much a lock for that wild card spot with just how as competitive as it is in the NFC. The AFC is like the Eastern Conference in the NBA where there's gonna be some bad teams that get into the playoffs, and the Steelers are not one of those bad teams, but they're both bolstered by the fact that there's a bunch of bad teams below them. So get those wins early, get in a good position, and if Russ can take this offense to another level, I think this will be a fun team to watch going forward, which is really not something that I think anyone could have expected to say that this is going to be a fun offense to watch moving forward. But here we are.
Here we are. Fuck, Steelers offense has been one of the worst to fucking watch in like the past 4 years. Um, their OC's Arthur Smith too. That's something else. You can't have fun offense and Arthur Smith in the same sentence.
Yeah, apparently you can now. I mean, maybe it's just the Falcons that were the problem when he was there. But no, I mean, no, they look better without him. But the Jets. Aaron Rodgers doesn't look like Aaron Rodgers. I know that one of those interceptions was not his fault at all. Garrett Wilson should have caught that, so his stat line's a little worse than it should have been. But overall, Aaron Rodgers just doesn't look good. The run game, I know the Steelers have a really tough D-line, but they couldn't get it going. That O-line just still has problems. Brees Hall, at least, shout out to him. They've really utilized him and realized he's our best player. We're going to utilize him. Even though he wasn't doing anything in the run game, they got the ball to him in screens. They got him involved in the passing game. I like that they're doing that. But as a whole, this offense, I think that they will get better as Devontae Adams gets more comfortable in it, just because, I mean, you can't get worse from that. That's going to help your team out, getting a top receiver like that no matter what. Offensive line, though, it's definitely a problem. Definitely something that you need to worry about. And the defense, I mean, they were one of the best defenses in the league last year, and everyone thought, all right, yeah, this is going to be a top defense. Well, the Steelers dropped 37 on you. I mean, it's just, this is a team that just disappointment all around, and I don't really know what we expected because it's the Jets, and the only team worse than them, I think, is like since 2010 or the last 10 years or something like that, is the Panthers. So I just remember that they brought up the stat that with the Jets winning and the Panthers losing earlier in the season, the Panthers became the worst team in the league over that span. I mean, they're just another disappointing team, and they're a team that really misevaluated themselves, thinking that if they go bring in Aaron Rodgers, they could be a contender. They're not a contender. They're not even a playoff team probably at this point, and they're behind the Miami Dolphins in their division without Tua. I think that tells you everything you need to know about this team.
And the Jets are a perfect example to me of having knee jerk reactions. And knee jerk reactions are not a great way to make decisions on your team because signing Aaron Rodgers or trading for Aaron Rodgers was a knee jerk reaction. And I think people fall for name value a lot. And Aaron Rodgers has name value. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers. Who wouldn't want an Aaron Rodgers on their team? Well, maybe it's different last year, but he ruptures his Achilles. He's 40 plus years old, and he's addicted to drugs. So, I mean, I don't see how this was going to work out. And then you also decide when really your team should be kind of, I wouldn't say barreling towards it, but your team should be kind of in a rebuild situation. I mean, you get Garrett Wilson, you get Brees Hall. Those are two great picks. You can keep building off of that. And yeah, they picked Zach Wilson, didn't work out, but you tried. I mean, he was a decent quarterback in college. I mean, there's no, I'm not going to get pissed off at a team for trying it. Um, Maybe you should have kept him for longer because your team has the same record with him now, the same exact point in the season as you did with Zach Wilson. Um, so is the team really better? No. And now you have Aaron Rodgers. You're much more older, probably more expensive too. So it's just one of those things where they just should have they it's like you said, they overvalued themselves, and what they did was they made win now moves too early. And this is what happens. You can't make win now moves when your team is in a retool rebuild situation. Because I think they were somewhere between rebuild and retool. Probably more on the rebuild side. And then you go and get Aaron Rodgers and you start trading draft picks away. And then you trade for Devontae Adams. Um, I mean that's not going to help your team, um, really at all. And then based off of his performance, now you either give up a second or a third round pick, and that's going to be extremely valuable because second round picks hit a lot. Um, so I just feel like for them, they're just compounding mistakes right now. Getting Devontae Adams was compounding a mistake, and maybe they get better. It's the first week. They played a tough Steelers defense, and maybe they figure it out. I wouldn't be surprised if they do because it took them how many weeks to figure out Brees Hall is the guy we should be feeding. Uh, so it's probably gonna take a couple more weeks for them to say, all right, we need to integrate Devontae Adams a little bit more. So
Problem is they just don't have those weeks, and really not just for this season not having those weeks because they're falling behind. Yes, it's possible to get into the playoffs with how open the AFC is, like we just said, but looking beyond that, Aaron Rodgers isn't getting any younger, so your window is as tight as possible right now, if there even is a window. So this has to be the year that they are able to turn it around and make a playoff run, because I don't even know if they'll have a next year at this point. And
I have a theory. I have a theory about Aaron Rodgers on the Jets that I would like to share. So we know how Rodgers is a big anti-vaxxer and all that kind of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, here we go.
I'm gonna need you to follow me here. Woody Johnson is part of Johnson and Johnson, who helped create the vaccine.
cut his mic right now, everybody. Cut his mic.
What if Rodgers just came to the Jets to just tank the Jets and ruin Woody Johnson? Just a thought.
We just want to make it clear that Preston's opinions are his own. So Woody Johnson, you can get mad at him.
This is not an opinion. It is an opinion. It's just a theory. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's something to think about. When you have your morning coffee in the morning or energy drink, whatever you choose, think about that. It is Aaron Rodgers trying to tank the Jets on purpose.
I'm not saying that it's true or untrue. I'm just saying that if it is true, this is all Preston saying this, and the Johnson & Johnson people don't need to come after us and put out a hit or anything.
I'm not attacking Johnson & Johnson. I'm just saying this is Aaron Rodgers attacking. You know what I'm saying? If anything, I'm helping them out. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm making them aware of this.
That's obviously probably not true, but who knows what happens when he's in his little dark room on ayahuasca, just vibing and just having who knows what kind of hallucinations. But
the L's definitely were speaking to him something. You know what I'm saying?
The Jets, they're not a good team, and they don't have a lot of time to figure it out. The only saving grace that they have is they're in the Eastern Conference of the NFL, where it is wide open, and they can make it into the playoffs just by being a mediocre team. We'll see if they're able to do that, but Jets, they're the Jets. They're a disappointing team. Is there any other games that y'all want to touch on or anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here, though?
Did y'all talk about the Packers game while I was gone?
We did. You missed out on that.
When we were talking about the Lions game, I was going to touch on this. I like everyone's talking about the Lions and Vikings. I think the Packers are just like, I mean, they're right there in there. I mean, they lost to the Vikings earlier this year by 2, but I mean, I really think that the Bears are frauds, but those 3 teams, the NFC North, anyone could come out of there and win.
They can, and it's going to suck for whoever loses that division by 1 game and has to go play on the road in a wild card matchup.
Well, welcome to the NFL playoff system.
Yeah, welcome to – here's your drinking game. Welcome to the Saints having to play on the road at a Seahawks team with the losing record, I believe it was, back in the day.
Jesus Christ, I'm getting beast quaked. Jesus Christ.
That was that game?
I think they were like 8-8 that year, I think. And made the playoffs.
It's crazy you got Marshawn Lynch doing that, but you choose to pass the ball on the 1 yard line. But I mean, I'm not complaining. So
I bet he isn't. I got one more thing before we get up out of here. I just saw this on my little timeline. I'm pretty sure no one gives a fuck, but I care, so I'm gonna bring it up. And it said, "Would you rather an upgraded Smoothie King Center in 2025 or a brand new arena in 2029 for the Pelicans?" Give me some new shit. That's my answer.
how old is that arena now?
2001 or 99? It was 99. It was actually, I think, started being built or finished on my birthday, the day I was born, November 3rd, 1999. So shout out. I am the same exact age as the Smoothie King Center.
No, honestly, I disagree with you there. I think just upgrade it for a few reasons. One, the location. If you build a new stadium, you're not going to be able to have that prime location because, I mean, it's one of the best locations in the league. It's why the Superdome hosts so many Super Bowls because you're right there in the action in the heart of the city where like everything's going on. And if you go build a new stadium, it's going to be on the outskirts somewhere and you're just not going to have that same atmosphere and that value. But the other thing is, I mean, look, realistically, by 2029, who knows where the Pelicans will be at. If you could have a revamped stadium while they're at their prime, that's really what you need to go build up that atmosphere. You just need to get people in there now and turn it into a great atmosphere. So as cool as a new stadium would be, you got to capitalize on the location that you have and just try and modernize it and turn it into just one of the best. You can still make it one of the best arenas in the league if you modernize it. It might not be as big as some other ones, but you don't really need a big one. Just have a great atmosphere inside and take advantage of that location that you have.
I think that's a good point, Dave. Because
Dave said y'all don't need a big one. Listen to Dave. Y'all don't need a big one.
I think Dave makes a good point there, though, because I mean, you look at all these new stadiums being built; they're not in the heart of the city. Like the Bears are proposing. I mean, they have one of the most historic stadiums in the NFL. And they're proposing to like move 40 minutes out of Chicago to build their new stadium.
Well, you know why the Bears are doing that, actually? The reason that they have to do that is back probably like 30 or something years ago, they got their stadium registered as a historic site because it offered them some tax benefits and offered them some other financial incentives. The problem is now that they want to renovate their stadium, there is so many like hoops they have to jump through, so much red tape they have to deal with, and so many specific regulations they have to do because they have to preserve the historic building. So they can't do a bunch of modernization like other stadiums are able to do with a renovation. They're very limited. So because they've got themselves registered as a historic site, now they've really pigeonholed themselves into if we want to renovate, there's not much we can do. We have to go build a new stadium.
That's fair, but my point with that was like 40 minutes outside of Chicago is crazy. Which, I mean, what they proposed. I learned about this in class last semester. Like what they're proposing basically is like they'll have like a full subway system that takes you from Chicago to the stadium. But still, I mean, traffic times with that, like I mean, it's gonna take you 2 or 3 hours just to get from the stadium to like Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're from Chicago, you live in Chicago. It's a whole day ordeal being there. You know, and you're not even going to get to really enjoy tailgating unless you leave like way before, you know.
It is, and I mean, you're seeing a bit of a trend with some other teams like trying to move their stadiums back to the downtown areas, back to the heart, and I think that's really that's if I was a fan. I mean, if I was a fan of the Bears, I'd be mad if I had to go all the way out to Arlington to go watch my team. Like, sure, it'd be nice having this nice stadium, but I mean, it'd be an inconvenience, and it's like you say, you lose the tailgating atmosphere, you lose all that. So, all these modern stadiums are cool, but location really is a huge thing with your greater atmosphere and your greater footprint beyond just what happens inside the stadium. But I mean,
Well, I mean, another thing with that is like the Patriot Stadium. They built it like outside of Boston. Of course, it's in Foxborough. Everybody knows that. But like, um, they built it outside of Boston because Robert Kraft said, "I'm not putting this on the taxpayers. I'm paying for every single bit of it." So he got a cheap piece of land outside of Boston, and that's where he built it. That's what saved him so much money, and he paid for that stadium 100% on his own. Taxpayers didn't pay for it; it was all on him, which is one of the cheaper stadiums in the NFL as well. So
shout out to him. But is there any other closing thoughts that y'all have? Anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
Ah,
no, I think we're good.
Think
Y'all didn't rant about the Saints that I know of, so good job, guys.
I just want to reiterate: the Bengals suck. They beat the Browns, but barely. I mean, you know
Their
what? I'll touch
defense
on this a
against the
little
Browns
bit.
was
So
shocking.
I want to get into one little thing with their offense. I mean, this goes back to Zach Taylor being a bad head coach, a bad play caller. We all know that. They just have the most boring offense in the league. All they do is line up in shotgun, and they go throw some isolated routes outside the numbers, and that's it. They have no creativity in their offense. They have no run game. They don't really work inside the numbers much, and everything is just go chuck it up to somebody and hope that they can make a play. There's no game plan there. And what really exposed it for me was the Browns, they'll run a lot of man coverage or whatever. They're a very man heavy team, and that's what the Bengals were expecting that game. Well, they did a good thing on defense, and they went and mixed things up. They ran a lot of zone. They were showing some different looks. And all right, that's a good first half strategy. Throw the team off. They don't know what they're expecting, but you'd think the offense goes in at halftime and they're able to adjust and they're able to go out and say, all right, now we know what they're doing. Let's go attack this. They didn't do that. I mean, they did score 14 points in the third quarter, but that was it. And their offense it looks like it has no teeth. And it's just sad when you have all those weapons, when you have Burrow throwing to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins probably for the last year that he's going to be there, that they can't put together a better offense.
The Browns had 100 and what? Let's see, I'm looking right here. Hold on. The Browns had 110 more total yards than the Bengals did. That's kind of. I mean, the Browns we're talking about here, and they. What quarter did Deshaun Watson go out? I didn't watch that game. So.
I don't remember. I didn't watch that game either, but he is 15 for 17. He is actually, ironically, I mean, I know the Bengals don't have a good defense, but he is playing well. He is 15 for 17 for 128 yards. But, I mean,
the Browns having 110 more total yards is ridiculous.
It is. And it's not like they did anything really special either. I mean, I don't know. It's tough to watch this Bengals team because they have some serious holes now. They kind of just let things slip on defense, letting too many guys walk. Offensively, their O-line somehow still sucks despite spending all these draft picks and all this money. They still can't bring good guys in. Maybe you need a new O-line coach there. Maybe you need to reevaluate what your talent evaluation process is. But, I mean, you get a win, so good on you because you're still in the playoff hunt with how wide open things are. But, I mean, Zach Taylor, show something. Show some reason to think that you can be a good coach. I don't know. I do also want to give a shout out, though, to Cedric Tillman because I drafted him when he was a rookie in the 4th round of our Dynasty rookie draft, and that pick looks like it might finally be paying off. So shout out to him.
Who is that?
He's Browns receiver. He was out of Tennessee. He was their lead receiver this game. 8 receptions, 81 yards on 12 targets.
So I got some news for you guys. And now I'm gonna bring this up. This is my last thing. So the Rams have called teams to trade Cooper Cup, and they're only looking for a second, and they are willing to take on Coop's salary or Cup's salary. Now, my question is, should the Saints do that? Because the Saints were completely okay with giving a third or a second for Devontae Adams. The problem was the Raiders wanted the team that's trading for him to take all of the salary, and the Saints can't afford that. So this is the same price tag as Devontae Adams. They were one of the most aggressive teams in getting in acquiring Devontae Adams. They just couldn't take the salary. So the Rams are telling you, look, same price as Devontae Adams, but we'll take on the salary. I mean, if you're the Saints, do you do that? I mean, clearly they have some misunderstanding about what they are in that front office and are still willing to make these type of moves. So if you're going to make that type of move for Devontae Adams, why not do it for Cooper Cup?
I think if this was offered 2 weeks ago, you take it. If this was offered a week ago, you probably at least strongly consider it. At this point, Cooper Cup, great player. He would probably do great for the Saints. I think picks are more valuable at this point because this is a team that desperately needs to rebuild, desperately needs to get younger. Because we have a bunch of old pieces that are only going to get older. The defense is aging, and I mean, I don't think Cooper Cup, as great of a player as he is, and as much as we need a receiver of his profile, with the state that the team is at this point, I'm not sure how much he really is able to do for you. And it's tough because, I
Well,
mean,
I
if you said
say
2 weeks ago, I would have been all over this because this is exactly what I said they needed. Yes, they have other holes, but if they could have gotten a receiver that is getting open on those intermediate routes that'll move the chains for you to pair with Shaheed as a deep threat, to pair with Olave being able to work all over the field now instead of having to just be that role, that would have been awesome. But now Shaheed's gone. Olave is one concussion away from being Tua. Derek Carr is out, which may be an upgrade, but I mean, quarterback play hasn't really shown anything. Your entire offensive line is injured, and your defense is falling apart. This is just a team that it sucks because the first 2 weeks of the season were fun. It's a rebuild.
I will say, and the reason why I mentioned it was because this is I'm looking at Cooper Cup as the exact receiver that you've been talking about. We need. He is a possession guy, a route runner, possession guy. He can eat up the middle of the field, so we don't have to have Rashid Shaheed doing. I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter because Rasheed's not coming back this year. Um, but he would have, theoretically, if Rashid Shaheed was healthy, he would have taken that role from Rashid, and then he can finally be back to being the deep ball guy he is. Or hell, you make clearly don't want Olave to be the deep ball guy anymore, so you just move Olave to intermediate like he is already, and then you move Cup down to short, and he's your third down, third and short, third and medium guy like Michael Thomas was. Go ahead and run a slant, run an in route, run a route that's on the sticks, and he has strong hands and he'll possess the ball for you. I mean, this team, the way that Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen are talking, they don't see them out of this. They see themselves as a team that's good and can compete. They're just injured. And the Saints are getting back Taysom Hill, Lucas Patrick, Cesar Ruiz, Pete Werner. All these guys are coming back, and that's huge. And Chris Olave's coming back as well. So that's huge. So I wouldn't be surprised. And then considering that Rashid Shaheed is down and now your receiver room is even worse, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead and do this trade. I wouldn't because they clearly see themselves as a team that can compete. They just blame injuries. So and if you're Dennis Allen, maybe you're saying, look, I know this might be my last year. I got a short leash, but I mean, you're giving me everything I've asked for. Give me this. I need it.
And
Look at what I'm
that
doing
is
with
the
Rashid.
scary thing right there. That this it, you could see the team making this move because they want to save Dennis Allen's job because they want to try and contend even though they're a team that really doesn't have any business contending. That's the scary thing that really could come true.
Oh, so there's also more news. The Vikings and Rams are in serious trade talks for quarterback Matt Stafford.
Who?
Now,
Wow.
Now, I don't know why you do this if you're the Vikings. Sam Darnold has been playing really well, and you have JJ McCarthy. I don't understand, but I mean, this looks like we're all rebuilt for the Rams. Um,
I think that's smart for the Rams, capitalizing on their rebuild right now. I mean, for the I mean, why would you do that trade if you're the Vikings? I mean,
That makes no sense
that
for the
makes
Vikings.
no
Yeah.
sense at all. I mean, this is you're playing really well with Sam Darnold. He's looking really good. He's on a cheap contract. I know that's a 1 year, so you're going to either have to pay him or walk from him next year. But if you do that, then you either trust JJ McCarthy and say he can go lead this team after sitting out a year and learning, or you go bring back Sam Darnold. Either way, it's not a bad position to be in, and you're winning games with Sam Darnold right now. Like Stafford's a great quarterback, but does he really do that much more for this team than Darnold does? And is he worth giving up assets for when you're sick? Like, I don't think that he moves the needle that much more than Darnold does with how well he's playing. I don't. That's crazy.
yeah, I don't understand. Um, if they do that, I think their team. I can't say it'll be worse, but apparently they were trying to acquire Matt Stafford in the offseason. It just didn't come to fruition, and now they're revisiting it. But
I
I mean, it's like we talked about earlier, like with Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy. Like, what do you do with Sam Darnold? I mean, to me, he's earned the right to keep being the starter. He's earned the right to keep going. I mean, he has you sitting here with one loss, 7 weeks. I don't see why you wouldn't just ride it out with him until the
now
wheels fall off.
the one thing that could make sense with this is O'Connell came from the Rams. Maybe he just really wants Stafford because of that. But still, I mean, you can't. If you're the GM, I'd say that's great. Y'all work together and we're great. You're succeeding now with Darnold. Just keep doing that. Like, I would not make that trade if I was the GM. I don't know. I also maybe it's a bit of a hot take, but I mean, I think that it would probably the value wise it'd probably be like a direct swap of quarterbacks because I don't think you keep Sam Darnold if you do this deal. I think it'd be similar to that Jared Goff trade. But I also think if you're
Well,
trading
hold
them
on.
Darnold and you're getting back Stafford, I don't think he's really worth giving up any picks because that's a pretty even trade where Stafford might be a little bit better, but Darnold is way younger.
Well, hear me out.
Well,
What if they
what if
trade McCarthy? If you're going full rebuild, why not trade for a rookie first round quarterback?
Because I don't
And
see
if the
why
Vikings,
I don't see why
I don't see
I
the
don't see
Vikings would
any
pick up
world
the
where the
Vikings?
Vikings give him up for that. If you're going to trade McCarthy, you're doing it because you're keeping Darnold and you're going to trade him for other assets. You don't want to trade him right now because his value is at the lowest that it is because he's not playing. If he plays and does well, it'll be good. If he goes in the off season and you talk about how healthy he is and how good he looks, but then you keep Darnold because he played so well, you can probably bump up his value a bit when a team who didn't get the quarterback they wanted in the draft is able to get him. I really don't see any world where that trade would make sense. The Darnold for Stafford, I mean, you'd think, I mean, is that just going to be a direct swap of quarterbacks? Because, I mean, Darnold's not going to want to stay on that team if they trade it. Like, if they trade for Stafford and he's still on the roster, he, if he doesn't march into the front office and demand a trade, then he is the biggest team player ever because if I was him, I would want out immediately if they go and trade for a quarterback to start over me when I've been a top 10 quarterback this year and led this team to a 6-1 record, or like that's or 5-1, sorry, because they had their bye already. But still, I mean that's
Uh,
insane.
that don't make a lick of sense. I mean, the only thing I could equate it to is one, Aiden O'Connell, and two, if the Vikings really think they're serious contenders, Stafford's done it before. Um, but I mean, other than that, they like may I did see that the Rams were wanting to sign Darnold in the offseason. Maybe the Vikings are just like, if y'all want to sign him, we're not gonna let y'all do that. We're gonna get something out of him first.
That is the one thing I think that the Rams. Part of this might be the Rams wanting to do this trade for Darnold and thinking that he can be their quarterback that they rebuild around. But it's just a weird situation all around because, I mean, the one thing I get with the Vikings is if they're going to move on from Sam Darnold, he's on a 1-year contract, so he'll be gone. So I guess they could see that as getting some value for him. But it just doesn't make sense for either team. I mean, just ride it out this year, see how it goes. If the Rams bring him in, they're going to have to pay him. So you're going to go bring in a quarterback, but then trade away Cooper Kupp and kind of blow it up. Like, I don't know. This is weird. Where did you see that report? Who was that from?
Oh, I lost the tweet now, so I don't know.
I just found it. Hold on. It's Dov Kleiman. I don't know about his last
But it
name.
is Dov. It's
Yeah.
Dov. Then
He's a
he's
per
on
Jackson
Facebook.
settlement.
I mean, he is a source, so at least this isn't some fake account, but he's also not a good source, so we'll see how that develops. We got to get out of here, though, but if this trade does happen, we will come immediately to you with our live reactions to that, but that would be wild. This NFL season's been wild, though, so who knows what'll happen.